shit. Tupac's greatest hits. Speaking of changes, I wanna change this game like I'm losing in Madden, 30-6. Like that, y'all. Some people they fiend for things they've already seen. I think they wanted me to be like that, y'all. But it wasn't my scene. I started doing these things that made them say they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that, y'all.
What is up, Black City, and welcome back to Spokast. Today on the podcast is graphic designer and artist Derek Landers. Derek was born and raised right here in Spokane, Washington, and is a graduate of SFCC Graphic Arts Design School. Derek has over 2 decades of experience within the design and arts community and has established himself as a force within its scene, inspiring others with his passion and dedication to his craft. And fun fact, he is also the designer behind the City of Spokane's most recent flag design. Beyond his professional and artistic endeavors, Derek is also the co-founder of Spokane Print and Publishing and is helping organize PrintFest. This is an annual celebration of creativity, craftsmanship, and community that brings together artists, art enthusiasts, and curious minds from across the region. This month-long event showcases the rich tradition of printmaking through a series of workshops, exhibitions, and interactive experiences. From relief carving to letterpress, screen printing to bookbinding, PrintFest offers something for everyone, inviting participants to explore the artistry and technique behind this timeless craft. So whether you're a printmaker or a curious beginner, PrintFest provides a welcoming space to connect with like-minded individuals, share ideas, and celebrate the power of print to inspire, educate, and transform. But really, this is such a cool event, and if you haven't experienced it already, you still have the opportunity this and next week. Derek and I talk about everything that's going on, and you can hear that all later in the podcast, or if you want to find out more information, visit SpokanePrintFest.org. Well, before we get into the show, let's give a shout out to my Patreon supporters, and they are newcomer Luis Garcia, Nathan O'Brien, Enrique de la Novelle, Joe Williamson, Jovan Voorhis, Elizabeth Geyer, Abby Pointer, Gina Campbell, Tyler Poole, Judy Pointer, Amber Sparks, Luke Baumgarten, Valerie Ozier, Nick Spanger, and Elizabeth and Bill Pointer. Thank you all again so much for being Spokastonites. If you want to become a Spokastonite and support what I'm doing here, visit patreon.com/Spokast. Well, I will not keep you any longer. Here is Derek Landers, graphic designer and artist, talking all about this year's PrintFest. This is Spokast. Your background and what you do. And then we roll into it and I will introduce you. I'm sitting here with Derek Landers. You are a printmaker, graphic designer. You do a lot of things in the design world here in Spokane. And thank you so much for joining me on Spokast.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you've actually I remember. I'll start here with when you designed the new city flag. I was like, I need to get him on Spokast to talk about it. And it was at a time when Spokast just wasn't really, we weren't firing on all cylinders, and it just didn't really make any sense to even request to have you come and talk on the podcast.
Sure.
But first things first, were you born and raised here in Spokane, or what brought you here?
Yeah, born and raised.
Okay.
Yep.
Whereabouts?
I lived up on the north side, kind of the Mead area. Well, not quite Mead area, but northwest area of Spokane. Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school at?
Mead.
Oh, you went to Mead. Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Mount Spokane.
Okay.
So I would have gone to Mead if Mount Spokane hadn't existed.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's so north side boy, just like me.
Yeah.
There seems to be, quite a lot of us that are doing cool things in Spokane. What was your early childhood of Spokane? What is an early memory?
Probably a lot of, I think most people, I did a lot of just hanging out with friends and goofing off and nothing too crazy or illegal or anything like that.
Cruising down Division kind of stuff.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And I was really into I was really into music and art.
Yeah.
So that was the bulk of my adolescence, was just working to make money so that I could hang out and play guitar and do art and, just kind of I did sports and stuff early on, like in middle school. It wasn't really my thing. I enjoyed it, but not enough to really keep up with it. Not much of a student, so all of my attention pretty much fell into music and art.
Yeah. What was the music scene like for you back in high school here in Spokane? Like, where were you? Were you going to shows, or was it house shows?
No, a lot of it really was. When I was in high school, there was a band in Spokane called Bittersweet, and Miles Kennedy, and Joel Tipke, and Zia Uden, and gosh, I forget the singer and the bass player. Apologies to them, but so we were going to the same school. So me and my friends, we used to hang out with them. They had like their practice space was this really janky like shed in Meade, and we used to hang out there with them. And again, nothing like, we weren't like getting wasted and getting stoned, but we were just doing music.
Yeah, that's
we just
awesome.
hung out while they were playing, and I'd go to occasional shows of theirs, and other than that, just like the usual, or the occasional concert that would roll through town.
I went to an early Peak Fest, or I think I went to the very first Peak Fest, and I think there might have been like a couple of Peak Fests.
Yeah,
but
right.
I remember listening to the Peak a lot. And
yeah.
I feel like, what band was Miles Kennedy in after?
There was Alter Bridge.
Oh, okay.
But then they also had another band. Again, the name is escaping me. Was kind of a precursor to him joining Alter Bridge.
Yeah. No, I just remember listening to Peak all the time. And art wise, like what were you doing? Like, were you drawing? Like, what was your style?
A lot of I will say that when I was a kid, there was a lot of drawings of Kiss and Star Wars, and just pages and pages of space battles and things like that. Never really got too much into like portraiture or anything like that. It was mostly just whatever was in my head that I just wanted to get out. And then music quickly took over all of my attention. So then I was 100% into just playing guitar, and didn't really get back into art again. And I mean, I would do art sporadically through school, just as like, I don't want to do any of this other stuff. I'll take an art class. So, I mean, I did like leather and, just a bunch of different crafty or not, those types of classes that were just electives that weren't the academic stuff that I found so boring. And so it wasn't really until after I got out of out of high school, and I kind of meandered for a couple of years, and then somehow had it in my head that I was going to make T-shirts, and I was going to be a millionaire making T-shirts.
Yeah.
And
this is like probably pre-internet, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I certainly had the ideas, but I didn't have the chops. You know? So there was a screen print shop here in town, and there was an artist there named Daniel Davis, who is he's from Spokane, but he lives in Arizona now, and he does some really, really cool like monster. He's got very much his own style.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. Anyways, he was working at a print shop, and I started going in there and with these ideas, and we'd sit down together, and he'd help me kind of throw these ideas together. And I'd get shirts printed, and I'd sell them to my family, and that was about the extent of it. But I didn't want to give up on it, so I thought, well, maybe I'll try college again, and found out about the design program at the Falls.
That's amazing, yeah.
And honestly, I only signed up. I thought I'm going to take like a semester or two and kind of get the skills I need, and then I'm going to drop out and then go again, be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And quickly learned that I actually kind of like design. And so I stuck it out, and then met my really good friend, Trevor Sullivan, who for a long time, and we still kind of are, but for a long time, we were known as Dumb Gun. And, yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And
that's
so
amazing.
He's a much better artist and illustrator than I am. So he would draw the majority of the artwork for the shirts. And then we started printing stuff in my garage, and it was just once again a real kind of rinky-dink operation. We'd freeze freeze our butts off out there in the winter and just so we could print one shirt that somebody ordered.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. That's where would you find Dumb Gun? Because I know the name and I've seen it before, and I because it must have been hitting right. Like when were you doing Dumb Gun? How long did you do that for?
We started out. I think I want to say that was in 2001 or two.
Okay.
A lot of our stuff was politically motivated, so that's when Bush was in office. But we also did a lot of pop culture stuff, and and so we started out mainly just doing shirts, and then we got into doing concert posters. And that kind of we quickly learned after I can't remember how many years we tried the T-shirt thing, trying to work out of my garage, or even having shirts printed by somebody. That it just wasn't feasible.
Yeah,
and it was taking up more time than I think we were able to devote to it. But then we got into designing posters, like gig posters, and figured out that we made more money doing that, and it was equally as exciting, but it did make more sense. Like, okay, this is something we can actually make. And it was always just spending money. It was always just it was just an outlet.
Yeah.
We both had full-time jobs in design, and whether through various career choices or jobs we both had, some were great, some were not so great. And it was like, we just needed that outlet. And so we found that doing gig posters. And I wonder if you must have came into because you might've came into the Falls when I was at school there, and or maybe Greg Stiles, professor there, got us onto it, because I feel like when I was going there from 2008 to 2010, it was there were very much a lot of industry people would come in and give presentations or talk about what they're doing. And Greg was always very, wanted to tout former students and what they're doing now in Spokane. Sure.
And it was always, very inspiring to see other people coming out of the program. And when I think back of the program and what I learned from it, and because I didn't even know it existed, someone just said oh, you're interested in design? There's a program out at the Falls. It's a 2-year program. You can go take it. I'm like, oh, whoa, this is interesting. And I went and got into school and took some classes, and I it was such a great curriculum to learn about the industry and how they designed it. Cause we were doing all those different types of designs, logo design, poster designs. And I just think I would always encourage people, even if you have a knack for design and wanting to do that as a career, and you don't really need to go to school for it, go try to go to the Falls and take some classes or go through the program, because it will get you ready for the industry.
Yeah, it very much, it's a great program, and it does, like you said, it does just that. It really does prepare you for, the realities of what it's going to be. Once you graduate and you go out and try and find that job, and then if you land one, what's the reality of what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it and the people you're going to be working for. So, I talk it up as much as I can. It's a great program.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's cool to see former students John Mahika, sorry, John Mahika, being a professor there, Sean Finley, they're all, they were all past students of the program, and I won't speak enough about it.
Sure.
So, where were you working at in Spokane throughout your time, in the industry?
I had my stints at a lot of different places. For a long time, I worked with Hamilton Studio. I learned a lot working there. And actually, when I started working there, it was, they're a film and production, studio, and have been for a long time. So I was present for the shift from real film to digital.
Oh, wow.
Because when I started working there, everything was shot on film.
That's amazing.
And I pretty much handled all of the, we had a really nice, it was kind of a pseudo drum scanner that was really top of the line back in the day. And when a client would come in and look at the proof sheet with the loop and then figure out which one they wanted,
Yeah.
and it was my job to scan it, clean it up, do all the work to get it, ready for into a file that could. And we used to deliver them on like, either I'd burn a CD, or even before that, we'd have to deliver them on zip drives, because it was just they were too big to, you didn't really have email.
Yeah.
Not really, like we do now.
Yeah.
And so I worked there for about 5 years and got a chance to do all kinds of stuff. Learned how to be on set and kind of be a grip. And so, I learned a lot of that kind of lingo and kind of that, what it's like to be on a live set. And subsequently through that job and the friendships I made there, we've, Matt VL, who's a really good friend of mine, and Trevor that I mentioned before, we started making short films and doing the 50-hour film slam. And we made a couple independent productions, and so it yielded some really lifelong, really good relationships and friendships, and to this day I'm still really close with them and Don and Lorna and just the whole team over there. So I worked there for a good long while. I did some work for a little while with Clunton Hosmer. Obviously worked with the great P&W, just lots of little design shops and work with my really good friend Todd Ziff at his studio out in the valley. Just like I said, and a lot of freelance here and there, and just making it work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of freelance, I want to talk about probably one of your more famous designs. You designed the Spokane city flag, and this was back in 2021.
Yeah.
And I believe that was like just an open submission, right? It was on, and then it went to a panel of, I think city officials. I don't even know. It might have gone out to the public.
It started out going out to the public.
Because I remember voting on something.
Yeah. I want to say that when they first opened it up, I think they had like 400 some odd submissions.
Yeah.
And then that got voted on by the public, and that narrowed it down to, I can't remember how many at that point, but then there was a flag committee that was formed. And I know they had, I think there was another public voting that happened after they kind of whittled down to a select number. And then there was like, it was kind of a pretty robust format that they went through, like round one, and then they took the results of round one, and then that determined who made it into round two. So it wasn't just like everybody throws their vote into a hat and they say that's it, but it was very much like it went through like 5 rounds, and it was kind of complicated, but I think fair. I think it made sense to do it that way. Yeah.
So when you were designing it, like how, obviously you were probably drawing inspiration from the old flag. And if you take a minute, like, and go look at the old flag and look at Derek's new flag, like the old flag was, for lack of a better term, looks like it was designed in like paint.
Yeah.
and then, but yeah, so what was the design process of creating the new flag?
Well, what I think was really interesting about it is this all started back in like, I think 2019. There was some Gonzaga student who was not from Spokane, who was just attending school here. I think it was on TikTok or on YouTube, and he like was ripping the flag up and down.
Yep.
And then the Inlander decided to do a story and said, what would a new Spokane flag kind of look like? And they reached out to, I think, 5 or 6 or 7 local designers.
I remember
said,
this, yeah.
Give us your idea for a new flag, and kind of talk about your thought process behind it. And Tiffany Patterson and John Mojica and Matt Bogue and a few other people, and I apologize for not remembering their names, but we were all asked to do this flag design.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting because it was more or less just like an editorial kind of thing, and it wasn't obviously real. It was just hey, we're keen to get the take on this from some local artists. And that's when I did it. And it was just kind of, I did really put a lot of thought into it, and it had I felt like I had a pretty strong like inspiration behind it. But then the article came out, and that was that. And, we all got paid a small stipend, and that was it. And then cut to a year and a half or whatever later, and they opened up this campaign, for a new flag. And I thought, well, I've already got it done. I might as well.
Might as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I love the design. I think it looks like how I would expect a city flag to look. Like I love because it tells a story just by looking at it. Because if you know the history of Spokane, Spokane's known as the children of the sun. But like also it has like elements of like the river. I think it's great, and I really appreciate like I saw a video of the Spokane Velocity the other day. I think my friend Benji Wade posted a video, and I saw a flag. I saw the city flag flying.
Oh wow!
And I was like, that's so cool. Like it's really cool to like create something that like that will live in the history of the city of Spokane. That has to feel this enormous and really exciting for you when it happened.
Yeah, it really was. It was quite the honor. And even now, like I'll find myself just, because like most things that you are part of the creation of, you kind of become numb to it after a while, because it's like, yeah, I've been looking at this for
right.
forever, and then occasionally I'll catch, or I'll even hear, like you just said, like you saw it, in a video somewhere, or I'll see, like, I'll be driving by and it'll be in front of somebody's house, and it's like, oh, okay, so it is really out there. And,
yeah, that's cool.
And down here in the lobby of this building, there's an art piece down there right by the elevator, and the flag is painted into this art piece.
Oh, that's so cool. I should go check it. I need to go. Probably have never looked close enough to even pay attention.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's like, so yeah, that definitely is. It's very touching. It's it all kind of came about in a way that it was just like I don't want to say that it was meant to be, but it just the kind of way it worked out. It was like, okay, this is really special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a part of like selling the mugs down at I always forget the name of it, next to Boo Radley's.
Yeah, Atticus.
Atticus. Like, are you part of selling the?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm very happy because like when I went down there, I was like, oh my gosh, they have the city flag mugs, and I was like, bought a bunch of mugs for to give to guests on the podcast. That used to be my old gift, and so I'd buy city flag mugs, or I'd buy like a Spokane mug, or something that was designed by someone locally. And I was like, someone asked me like, do you think? He's like, do you think Derek is like putting these in there? I'm like, I hope so.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing: the flag design itself is public domain. Yeah, it is free to anybody to do whatever they want with it. The design that so I've made some flags, and I've used the flag design in a couple of different products. And then what I did do, though, that is my design is like the one you see on the mug. It's kind of a round version. It's slightly different. It obviously contains some of the elements of the actual flag, but that was kind of my own little spin on, like, okay, I can't just slap the flag on a mug. I mean, that would be okay, but I wanted to, change it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome that you're a part of it, and I think it, like I said, it's really, really cool. So I need to actually get one. I should get a pole for my car, for my Subaru, and put on the back of my car and drive around town. Be the guy who drives around with a Spokane flag.
Yeah, with the full 3 foot by 5 foot full-size flag on your Subaru.
Yeah, my Subaru. Yeah. I probably need to be driving a Tesla, though.
Yeah, right.
Actually, I think Subaru is more apt because it is, that's more P&W.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, before we get into PrintFest and talking about that month-long event, I want to play a quick game with you. I'm going to play the Spokast Hot List. I'm going to give you a list of words, and you're going to give me the first word that comes to your mind as it relates to Spokane.
Okay.
So the first word I always ask is park.
Riverfront.
Coffee.
Atticus.
Brewery.
No lie.
Burger.
Ooh. Durkin's.
Correct. There are no wrong answers on here except for that.
Except for that one,
one. Shopping.
Boo Radley's.
Stay right in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sweet treats.
I'm not much of a sweets kind of guy.
It could be it could be also, I should say like donuts, cookies are also in that line.
Well, then Donut Parade.
Perfect. Music venue.
That's tough because, unfortunately they don't last very long.
Yeah. It can be historic too.
Okay, then I would say the Bartlett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brunch.
Yards.
Neighborhood.
West Central.
Is that where you hail?
Nope. I'm living in the valley right now, but just and I grew up on the north side, northwest side, in the Shadle area. But just something about maybe it's because that's where the print shop is. And that's there's a lot of stuff.
No, it's great. Yeah,
it's a really. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's a hard question to answer because there's so many great neighborhoods.
Right.
But right off the bat, I'd say West Central.
I will agree with you. I mean, I love all the neighborhoods in Spokane, but and running through West Central and like going through, it's seeing the history of like the houses in there, and it's kind of like there are so many different styles of houses, and there's some that have been really. It's just a very eclectic neighborhood.
Yeah,
it has a lot of culture, and I just I think it's a very unique part of Spokane.
Yep, definitely.
Pizza.
I'm pretty partial to Fieldhouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Artist, not named Derek Landers. There's I'm sure there's somebody going through your mind.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously current versus, former or,
Yeah.
This is going to seem really, there's no agenda behind this answer, but Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Gil Zambrano.
Oh, I agree. I mean, yes, he's I love him.
to be, just even more importantly than being partners in the print shop and everything, just being friends with him and just being around and just seeing his level of work. I mean, it's mind blowing, but it's never intimidating.
Yeah,
it's inspirational. And he's just such a great guy, anyways. But like, I look at his work and I'm just like, I'm flabbergasted by it. But luckily, it doesn't like deter me. It just makes me realize that like, okay, that's the playground or that's the sandbox he plays in, and I. Completely respect it and am in awe of it, but like I don't compare myself because I can't, because that's not my style.
Right, exactly.
But his work ethic and just his love for it, like that's something that you can emulate.
Yeah, I love looking at his pieces, like especially all his pieces, but large scale pieces where you can just kind of stare closely at it and just kind of look and just at different sections of it. Like there's so much thought that goes into his pieces, and I've never watched him do the process of doing the carving into the losing the word for what he carves into, but the blocks. But I just going through art class when I was going at the Falls, doing relief like cutting and doing like that is just like I never how a mind thinks to create negative space to create something is just like awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, for sure.
And the last question is event.
I don't know, probably something like like Pig Out in the Park.
Yeah,
it's just a fun. It's nice because like especially when I used to work downtown, it was like every day for lunch you just go across the street to the park and pick something different, and just the vibe of it is always really fun. And I because again, that's my favorite park. That just kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, you could say like the Interstate Fair or something like that, and those are great too. But like you got to go there. Whereas if you're already kind of in the area, you can just go downtown and
Pig Out in the Park usually is probably one of the top 3 answers on here. It's Hoop Fest, Bloomsday, and Pig Out in the Park, and I think the expansion of like the park itself and. It's now new focus like on music or more. It's always had music, but like I think it's been curated differently over the years. Like it's it's very unique, and it is becoming, I feel like, kind of like a music festival. I'd love to see it become more of a music festival, but yeah,
Right.
I think it's great. I think it is a really fun event.
Yeah.
But the correct answer is Print Fest.
Dang it.
Just joking. Let's talk about Print Fest and like what it's all about this year. It's a month-long event celebrating, all things printmaking, and this is its 5th year. Cool. And how are you involved? And I ran into Ronaldo about a month ago, and he's like, "Hey, can we get on the podcast to talk about Print Fest?" And then I was like, "Yeah, we can. Let's do it." And then he was posting everything about it, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I never got back to Ronaldo because I saw him at the Chameleon, and I was like, oh shoot, I never got to talk to him about this, and I want to get him on the podcast." And then he's like, "Oh, why don't you interview Derek Landers, who's helping organize the event? What is how's the organization been going and preparing for this event?"
It's been good. Obviously, Spokane Print and Publishing Center has a lot to do with Print Fest, but there are several other partners that are all involved in it. But it really is kind of it's the brainchild it's Ronaldo's kind of thing, and he started it, again 5 years ago. But we've all, been pretty involved in it. This is the first year I've really been truly involved, other than just like in the past I might make a print or help with a little bit of the advertising or something like that. But this year I finally decided to actually participate a little bit more. And we typically will do, for the month of April, each week has like a specific subject or, so like the first week is, kind of the kind of kickoff and a couple different events. So we had the print fair. Mary Farrell had a workshop at the print shop. A couple of technically my classes will be on the weekend of the 20th and 21st, just so that I can prepare for the next weekend, which would be the 26th, which is a rock and pop art poster show at Hamilton Studio.
Oh, nice.
And it's all local art, some of mine and Trevor's poster work. But I've also got Chris Bovey and Derek King and some other local artists that are all going to be displaying, mostly music related, but even some movie kind of pop culture, kind of funky stuff like that. Most of it's going to be screen printed. Some of it, won't be, but that's the focus of it. And then Itchy Kitty is going to close out the night. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love Itchy Kitty. Got to see him down at Treefort, and they're amazing.
Yeah, they are.
And you said you've been involved over the years in Print Fest, but like, how did you get more involved this year?
I think I just, because those of us that at the print shop, on the board, we meet once a month and we talk about what's coming up, and Print Fest is always on the agenda. And so we were just talking about, different things we could do this year. And somebody mentioned, we should do some screen print stuff. Everyone's talking about screen printing and everyone's asking about it. And I'm like, okay, I'll throw myself into it this year instead of being a hermit and not wanting to, it was never a question of wanting to do it. It was just a question of, can I do it?
Yeah.
Do I have time to do it? And so I made it a priority this year to be involved. And then, Tom Caraway, who's on our board at the print shop, he had recalled that I got it back, I think 2012, we did a poster show similar to this at Hamilton Studio of all of Dumb Gun's prints that we had done, and we had live music and everything like that, and it was a blast. We had so much fun, and Tom was like, well, you should do another one. We called it Gig. It was just that was the name of the show. And he's like, you should do another gig. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Then Ronaldo got really excited about it, and I was like, well, I don't want to make Ronaldo upset, so let's go ahead and do it. And so but then I started, I did all the branding for this year's Print Fest and did the website and so just kind of really got more excited and involved than I have in the past. Again, not because it was just like the timing was right for me to really get into it this year and be a larger part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Talking about your demo and workshop, so what can people expect if they were to come and take part?
Yeah. Screen printing is a really, well, it's my favorite medium, clearly. The thing about screen printing is that it's very process intensive, which is one of the drawbacks to it is, most people can come down like to the print shop and grab a piece of linoleum, draw a little something and carve it.
Yeah.
And pretty much print something that day. Screen printing is way more process intensive. So there's a lot of steps that go into it. So, everybody has fun with the actual pulling of the ink, which is the fun part.
Yeah.
All the stuff before and after that is not so much fun, but it's necessary for the process. So with these workshops, I typically have something that's already been designed that they're going to be printing. Just because, again, if somebody brought in their own artwork, it has to be prepared, and then we have to burn a screen and clean the screen and prepare it. And there's a lot of different steps. So I like to walk through some of that stuff and kind of talk about it, just kind of give people an idea of what does go into screen printing, and then actually then they get to pull some prints and get to leave with stuff that they've printed themselves.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've always been like, I've done some training of prepping screens and doing it. And it's such a fun process, but it is intensive but this sounds like a really great way to get just a learning experience from it. And because it is one of those things you can do in your house too.
Yeah.
I used to have the stuff in my house, and I just ended up getting rid of it because it was just, I never had time to do it. Because I also was one of those, I want to become a screen printer and do make my own t-shirts. And then I'm like, I have a lot of friends that can help me do this. But it's also, I will say, it is a good way to, I think it's a great way to create and be able to take something that you've made, especially digitally, and put it onto a shirt, which is also a great point, because that's why the excuse me, I'm losing the train of thought. Spokane Print exists because you don't have to buy the stuff. You can go become a member there, right?
Yep.
And in Print Fest, remind me, all supports the print shop, correct? Or the Spokane Print?
Print Fest supports itself.
Okay.
In a way that it's just it's like the tagline says, it's a celebration of all things print. And we've tried to position, especially Spokane Print and Publishing Center, we've tried to position ourselves as kind of a hub for Eastern Washington in this area, so people can come in from Idaho, or maybe even over from Montana, or in the surrounding areas, because we've heard so much from so many people that are like, I did printmaking in college, and obviously after I graduated, I don't have access to the equipment, or I don't have room in my house for the equipment, and it's hefty equipment, And we wanted to make a space for people to come and use that equipment that they've either used before or that they've shown interest in learning how to use. And then it's a membership-based nonprofit organization, so people can come in, they get a membership, they come in during open hours, and they get to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
For the most part, ink and paper and everything is provided. If you want your own personal, if you want specific paper to print on, you can bring whatever you want. And then either take it with you, or we have large lockers you can put your stuff in, and so that nobody else uses it.
Yeah.
But we've found that, man, our members are so collaborative, and it really is. It's community. It's a community space, because we're, just the vibe of it when people are in there working on stuff and they're showing it to each other and saying, "What do you think? Oh, you should try this." And it's just it's a really positive environment for just creativity.
Yeah.
So
it's very unique in that way. And
yeah.
I think that's what's very cool about it, is the community aspect of it, and the ability to be able to do larger scale stuff that you couldn't do by yourself.
Right.
And especially I went and watched Ronaldo do some of his printing,
Mm-hmm.
and the process that he goes through to do it is very unique, and you couldn't have that at your house.
No, not at all. No.
And so I guess in a way, like PrintFest, it supports the Spokane Print as a way of just letting people know about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much. It definitely benefits our print shop, but it also just benefits Spokane in general. That when you look at organizations like Terrain and that are trying to kind of push the narrative of art, and so we're working in conjunction with them. They have in their gallery right now, they have a visiting artist, so that was something that we're promoting on our page. So it's like not even just so much that. It's great for us at the print shop, but we're also just trying to make Spokane a print town. I mean, we're just trying to make it a destination that's why we're bringing in artists from other places, because it's not that difficult to get to Spokane, and it's not that difficult to come for a weekend and spend some time learning about all the different things we have in town that are not just our print shop.
Yeah.
But it's very obviously very closely tied to Spokane Print Fest and Spokane Print and Publishing Center are very much closely tied, and you could almost say they're the same thing, but their goals are they're different but complementary.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I should ask, like, since Spokane Print has existed, like, how would you describe the growth of relief printing in Spokane?
I think that there is definitely a lot more of it. I think you got to remember too that with social media, it's so much easier to see what people are working on, to see what people. But the other thing too, and I'm sorry if I'm kind of rambling, but there's a lot more galleries in town now. There's a lot more spaces for people to show their work.
Yeah.
And again, with promoting it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and of course you can't, you got to give props to First Friday. And I mean, that brings people out, and just even looking at the number of venues, how much that's grown.
Gosh, no kidding.
And there's just so much to do. So like, I think just in general, I think Spokane has really embraced the idea of art and giving artists the opportunity to show their work and to talk about it and to be embraced.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm 40, and I remember when I was, a young 20-something and going out in Spokane, like there wasn't really art galleries that existed outside of like Avenue West.
Right.
And now, like, you walk through Kendall Yards, there's a Marmot space, there's, the new Terrain space, like here in near me at the community building in Saranac, there's space right downstairs, and I imagine a handful of other spaces across the city, and I think it's so unique for our city, and I think it's unique for any city that's growing. It needs to exist. Culture and arts need to exist and be accessible for everyone.
Absolutely, yeah.
I should ask you, like, and I probably should ask this at the beginning of the show. What is your style of relief printing? I know you do screen printing, but what's your main style? Like, how do you? I think when people think of screen printing, they think of a lot of T-shirt design.
Yeah, well, and that screen printing on paper, like making posters and prints. That's my jam.
Yeah.
Relief printing, I've dabbled in it, and even the letterpress. I mean, I've tried all that, and by no means do I not enjoy any of it.
Yeah.
It's just that's my wheelhouse is screen printing, but the relief printing and the block printing and the letterpress, I mean, it's all so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my style tends to be really kind of crisp, bold. So I don't dabble too much. Like, I'm not much of a kind of let's see what happens kind of artist.
Okay.
I guess I don't know what you would describe that as. I'm way too I'm way too OCD to leave anything to chance. So my stuff is pretty dialed in before I even get to the table to print it.
So you're like, you have it like when you're drawing, like, how do you design it? Do you do mostly digital now?
Sometimes if I don't just sit down at the computer and do it, a lot of times I'll make really rough sketches because I hate my illustration style. I use it I'll make a sketch and then I'll bring it into Procreate on my iPad, and then I cut everything up. Like especially if it's like a person, I'll cut the head and the legs and the torso and everything into separate layers, and then I can rotate them and get the body language just right. Because I can't ever draw it. It never looks the way I want.
Right.
You know. So I have to tweak it, and then I end up doing it all in Illustrator anyways. So it's all vector based. It's all super crisp, and
How is like the advent of like, because I remember when I was in school, like Wacom existed, and like, but I mean, and I don't know how long Wacom existed before that. That was 2008. But like, do you think that technology has really helped improve your style and like, or not improve, but like, just the quickness?
Oh, absolutely. I think anything like that is just a tool for you to do things the way you are comfortable or the most efficient doing it. You know, I'll learn new things. Like I'll see someone do something. I'll be like, oh, how'd you do that? And they're like, oh, you do it like this. And then I'll sometimes incorporate that into my workflow. And then other things, I'm super old school and I'm like, I don't want to learn any other way. Just, you know, this is how I'm good at it. I'm quick. I can count on it, so I'm not interested in learning a different way of doing it. You know, there's definitely software out there that'll do things faster and probably more efficiently than I know how to do it, but that's something else I have to learn. Right. It's like I don't have to learn how to do it the way I already know how to do it. So
exactly.
And so it's necessity. It's like, okay, I need to figure out how to make this work better, so I need to spend some time learning a new technique. Whereas if it's a novelty of like, oh, this thing does that, well, that's great for people that are using it, but I don't have time to mess around with it.
Yeah. Outside of like being able to go to an event, or is there any way someone could support PrintFest without like going to an event?
I mean, I think just even like sharing, you know, if you see something that you think a friend or somebody might enjoy, just, you know, sharing it and talking about it. You know, there's certainly, of course, we don't really have, other than the events themselves, but like we have some merchandise, you know, again, it's not going to make or break us if we don't, you know, sell all the posters, but you know, but then they're very limited edition. We did some limited edition posters this year, and they're screen printed, and you know, so I mean that's one way. And again, mostly just talking about it, you know, just or even just, I mean, in the spirit of PrintFest, just understanding that there is a larger art community in Spokane that maybe people don't realize, and seek it out. Go look for something on First Friday and go check it out. I mean, you'll be blown away by how much creativity and how much is actually happening in Spokane in that regard.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, coming from someone who's, you know, back when I was a kid, there was nothing going on,
right?
You know, and we were pining for something to happen in this town. And now, at least in the realm of art, like it's really blown up.
Yeah, no, it really has. I need to put my actions words, and yes, I like sharing stuff on like social media, especially like Instagram, like in your stories. It doesn't take long to just like click that share button and then to share a design or something that's happening locally in the art scene. Like I feel like they're like, I need to get better at it, but too, like if you're listening to this, like if you see something on Instagram that you like and you think other people would like it, share it to your story. Like I think it's just like, it's such a great way of getting the word out there without having to do much other than press a button.
Well, and even on a more like, on a more one-on-one situation, you know, if you see someone's art on Instagram, I mean, yeah, it's different if they're local. It's especially more exciting if they're local. Shoot them a like.
Yeah.
Send them a message and say, I really enjoy your work. I mean, you know, artists want to sell their work because that's how that they support their efforts. But you'd be surprised how much just a compliment how far that'll go. Yeah. You know, so if you see someone's work, and either share it or even just send them a note, say, I really like your artwork. You know, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely. I mean, I've created multiple friendships accidentally by just like saying I like their work on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Like it's why I'm friends with probably Chris Bovey and other people like that are artists. Like it's just like letting an artist know that you appreciate their work is why a lot of artists create work. Like, and hearing that is very affirming, and it makes them want to keep on doing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it feeds our souls.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nice to have something tangible in our pocketbooks that says, okay, I can support myself doing this.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's just like artists, they want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know that their work is being appreciated.
Absolutely.
So even if it's not a monetary appreciation, just a kind word.
Yeah. Well, that's the next step, right? Yeah. If you have the ability, go down to from here down to different stores in Spokane where local art is sold, and put your money behind it, because it is. I love buying art, and I have way too much of it, and I have a ton of it in my basement that I just need to hang other places.
Yep. Yeah.
But it is like I really think. But being able to support is a big thing, and I think what PrintFest is doing is very unique, and I appreciate you for coming down and talking about it. I want to mention, another event that is happening in PrintFest that I feel like I wanted to say is Ronaldo's exhibit at the MAC.
Yes.
Ends on the 20th, and so like go check that out. I haven't gotten to check it out yet, but I'm gonna do it in the next week and a half. So
Right.
definitely get down to the MAC and check out his work. It's so cool that like the MAC is now they've always done exhibits from local artists, but I haven't known many friends to have their artwork at the MAC. And it's really cool. So
yeah, no, it's a tremendous exhibit, and take the time to read the info behind a lot of. They all have like a little description. But there's a lot about Ronaldo I didn't know that I learned from actually reading those things.
Wow.
I mean, it's a very well curated show.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, like Harold Blaze exhibit is also there. You can see two amazing local artists.
Yeah, for sure.
Celebrated. So it's really cool. I should ask, like, who are your partners with PrintFest?
So Ronaldo, Tom Caraway. And then Dorian Carajalios. Apologies if I got your last name wrong. And then Pixie Carlson. And that's all the SPPC members that are involved.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Terrain and the Liberty Gallery. And I know I'm forgetting someone. Gonzaga, the Urban
Art Center.
Yeah, Urban Art Center. And
is there something at the Spokane Public Library?
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Spokane Public Library. We did a thing at the Hive. I think there's another thing coming up at the Hive. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we did our print fair there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've never heard of this Urban Art Center. What is it?
It's just this really cool gallery that's there on campus.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it not with the Junt at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's totally separate.
different.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, Derek. Again, this was an amazing conversation. How can people find you online and support you?
Just landers.design is my website. And same thing on Instagram. And yeah, that's the best way to find me. And then of course, PrintFest SpokanePrintFest.org and SpokanePrint.org is for PrintFest, and then the Spokane Print and Publishing Center.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you. You can't leave without answering the final question of the podcast, and that is, why Spokane?
It's I was born here and I grew up here, but it's always just been home, and I know a lot of people. And of course, I've traveled. I've never traveled or lived anywhere else extensively enough to really compare the two. But I've known a lot of people that have been from other areas that come to Spokane and they go, wow, this place is awesome. I mean, it's like it's got so much going for it that, it's just big city enough, but it's not too big city,
100%.
Yeah. And it's nice too because, I mean, you can get around town pretty quickly. You know, we're not luckily, except maybe around 5 o'clock on the freeway.
Right, yeah.
We're not spending hours and hours just trying to get across town.
That's true.
You know, so there's, I wish we had some better transit, but we're getting better. It's getting better, but that'd be something that I think will be, it'll be, really nice when some more of that stuff hits.
Absolutely. I hear that there's somebody with a billion idea how they can totally improve our transit system. I need to read this article, but it exists somewhere. I do agree. Like there's so much we could be doing in that to like improve. But like I agree with you. I have known many people to leave where they formerly lived and come to Spokane because of what's happening here, and they think it's just a very unique city, and we are in a very I feel like we're in an exciting time in Spokane. I feel like it's only getting better, and it's people like you that are creating that in culture and art, and I can't thank you enough for that.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again for listening to Spokast. Until next time, peace. Awesome. Thank you, dude.
All right. Yeah.
I want to change this game like I'm losing in Madden 30-6. Like that, y'all. Some people they fiend for things they've already seen. I think they wanted me to be like that, y'all. But it wasn't my scene. I started doing these things that made them say they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that. Hold up. Without a day, without a day. Hey, somebody better tell Ellen that I'm on the way. Somebody tell Charlamagne, hey, I'm on the way. There ain't a stage in this world that I couldn't play. Coachella with a full live band would make sense. DJ sets.